Have you ever felt stuck, like your dreams are just out of reach, like you have been walking toward something for so long, yet somehow the finish line keeps moving farther away? Maybe you have worked hard, maybe you have prayed, maybe you have tried again and again, and still, there are moments when you wonder whether any of it is going to happen. But sometimes, the most difficult part of the journey is not the beginning, it is the final stretch. The moment when the goal is close enough that you can almost touch it, yet something invisible seems to stand between you and the life you desire. Sometimes that invisible barrier is fear. Sometimes it is doubt. Sometimes it is exhaustion. And sometimes it is something even more powerful: the way you speak to yourself. Because long before your circumstances change, something inside you has to change first. There is a power within you that you may have forgotten. A power that has been there since the beginning. The power to imagine. The power to choose. The power to believe. The power to speak. And the power to turn an idea that exists only in your mind into something that eventually exists in your reality. Think about every great thing human beings have created. Before the building existed, there was an idea. Before the invention existed, there was a thought. Before the journey began, there was a decision. Everything begins somewhere, and very often it begins within. This is why your words matter. Not because simply saying something magically removes every obstacle from your path, but because the words you repeatedly speak become instructions for your mind. Tell yourself that you are incapable long enough, and eventually you begin to live as though it is true. Tell yourself that you are worthy, capable, resilient, and deserving of a better life, and slowly you begin to behave like someone who believes it. Your words influence your thoughts influence your actions become habits, and your habits begin to shape your life. So what if the life you are looking for is not waiting somewhere outside of you? What if the beginning of that life is already within you? There is something powerful about discovering what lives inside you, because perhaps you were never empty. Perhaps you were never lacking. Perhaps you were simply carrying something that had never been given permission to come out. A talent, a vision, a dream, a business idea, a book, a voice, a different version of yourself. Something inside you has been waiting for you to believe in it, waiting for you to stop asking, "What if I fail?" and start asking, "What if I succeed?" What if the thing you have been afraid to pursue is exactly the thing that could transform your life? What if the person you have been waiting for to believe in you is you? There is a divine mystery in human potential. Call it God, call it consciousness, call it the universe, call it the creative power within. Whatever name you choose, there is something remarkable about the human spirit. We can take something invisible and make it visible. We can take a thought and turn it into a decision. We can take a decision and turn it into action. We can take action and create something that did not exist before. And perhaps this is what it means to recognize the divine within us. Not that we are all powerful beings who can control everything that happens in life, but that there is something greater within us than the circumstances surrounding us. There is a creative force within you. There is wisdom within you. There is courage within you. There is potential within you. And perhaps your greatest responsibility in this life is to discover it, release it, and give it a chance to become real. Think about a seed. When you hold a seed in your hand, you cannot see the tree inside it. You cannot see the branches, you cannot see the leaves, you cannot see the fruit, but the potential is already there. The seed does not need to become something completely different. It needs the right conditions to reveal what was already inside it. You are not so different. There are things inside you that the world has never seen. Ideas nobody has heard. Strength nobody knows you possess. Dreams you have kept hidden because you were afraid they were too big. And maybe the reason you feel frustrated right now is because something inside you is trying to come out. You are becoming restless because you were not created merely to survive. You were created to express, to create, to grow, to contribute, to become. But growth requires faith. And faith does not mean believing that everything will happen exactly when you want it to. Faith means continuing to believe when the evidence is not yet visible. It means planting the seed before you can see the tree. It means taking the first step before you know the entire path. It means believing that your current circumstances are not the final definition of your life. Imagine someone standing at the beginning of a dark road. They cannot see the entire journey. They can only see a few meters ahead, but they take one step, then another, and eventually the road becomes visible because they kept moving. That is how life works sometimes. You don't need to see the entire staircase. You need enough faith to take the next step. And this is where your words become powerful. Every morning, before the world tells you who you are, tell yourself, I am capable. I am worthy. I am becoming stronger. I trust myself. I trust the journey. I have something valuable to offer. I will not abandon myself. I will continue. These words are not magic spells. They are reminders. Reminders of who you are when fear tries to convince you otherwise. Because life will speak to you. People will speak to you. Failure will speak to you. Rejection will speak to you. Your past will speak to you. And if you do not consciously choose your own voice, you may eventually begin believing everyone else's. Someone may have told you that you would never succeed. Someone may have laughed at your dream. Someone may have underestimated you. Maybe you even underestimated yourself. But their opinion is not your destiny. Your past is not your destiny. Your mistakes are not your identity. You are still becoming, and as long as you are still becoming, your story is not finished. Look at how many times you have already survived what you once thought would destroy you. There were moments when you thought you could not continue, and yet you did. There were days when you thought you had nothing left, and somehow you found another step. There were moments when you cried privately and still walked outside pretending you were okay. There were failures that humbled you. There were disappointments that changed you. There were people who left. There were opportunities you lost. But you are still here. That means something. It means there is more strength inside you than you have recognized. So stop looking at your unfinished life and calling it a failure. A chapter is not the entire story. A delay is not a denial. A slow beginning is not a bad ending. Sometimes life takes longer because it is preparing you for something you are not yet ready to carry. The tree does not grow faster because you stare at it. It grows because it continues doing what it was created to do. And perhaps you need to do the same. Stop comparing your journey to everyone else's. Stop looking at somebody else's chapter 10 while you are living through chapter 3. You do not know what their roots look like. You do not know what they sacrificed. You do not know what happened before the picture you see. Your journey is yours. Your timing is yours. Your becoming is yours. And there is no shame in taking longer to become who you were meant to be. The important thing is that you do not stop becoming. This is why you must learn to speak life into yourself, not only when things are going well, especially when they are not. When the business fails, speak courage. When the relationship ends, speak healing. When the opportunity disappears, speak possibility. When you make a mistake, speak forgiveness. When you feel behind, speak patience. When fear appears, speak faith. Because you cannot always control what happens around you, but you can influence what happens within you. And what happens within you eventually influences what you do next. You may not be able to control the storm, but you can control whether you continue walking. You may not control who believes in you, but you can decide to believe in yourself. You may not control when the opportunity arrives, but you can prepare yourself for when it does. And you may not control the entire future, but you can shape today. That is where your power lives, not in controlling everything, but in choosing who you become in the middle of everything. And gratitude is part of that power, because sometimes we become so focused on what we do not have that we become blind to what we already possess. You may be asking for a better life while overlooking the strength that brought you this far. You may be waiting for your breakthrough while forgetting that surviving the difficult season was already a form of victory. Take a moment and recognize what is already working: your breath, your ability to learn, your ability to begin again, the people who genuinely care about you, the lessons you have gained, the experiences that made you stronger, the opportunities that have not yet arrived. Gratitude does not mean pretending everything is perfect. It means recognizing that even in an imperfect life, there is still something worth appreciating. And when you appreciate what you have while continuing to pursue what you want, you stop living from desperation. You begin living from possibility. You begin saying, "I am grateful for where I am, and I am excited about where I am going. I can appreciate today without giving up on tomorrow. I can love who I am while continuing to become more." That is powerful. And then comes change, because the person who wants a different life must eventually become comfortable with becoming different. You cannot ask for transformation and remain attached to everything that keeps you the same. Sometimes the next version of you requires you to leave behind an old version of yourself, old fears, old excuses, old habits, old beliefs, old environments, and sometimes old identities. You may have spent years saying, "I'm not confident, I'm not lucky, I'm not smart enough, I'm always behind, things never work for me." But what if those statements were never facts? What if they were simply stories you repeated until you believed them? You can tell a new story, not a fantasy, not a lie. A story based on possibility. I am learning. I am growing. I am becoming. I can improve. I can begin again. I can become the person capable of carrying the life I desire. And every time you speak these words, support them with action, because belief without action remains a dream. If you say you are becoming stronger, take the difficult step. If you say you believe in yourself, stop waiting for everyone's approval. If you say you trust your future, start preparing for it. If you say you have something inside you, release it. Write the book, start the business, make the video, learn the skill, apply for the opportunity, have the conversation, take the first step. You do not need to know exactly how everything will happen. You simply need to stop hiding from the possibility of what could happen, because your dream does not need you to be perfect. It needs you to be willing to begin, willing to fail, willing to learn, willing to try again, willing to believe. And perhaps that is the real meaning behind the idea that we carry something divine within us. There is something within you that wants to create, something that wants to express itself through you. Something that says, there is more. More than fear, more than your past, more than your current circumstances, more than the opinions of other people, more than the version of yourself you have settled for. And maybe your purpose is not to become someone else. Maybe your purpose is to uncover who you already have the potential to become. So speak to yourself with intention. Speak words that strengthen you. Speak words that remind you of your power. Speak words that create courage instead of fear. And then live in alignment with those words, because the world may not change overnight. Your circumstances may not transform instantly, but something will begin to change. You will change. Your posture will change. Your decisions will change. Your confidence will change. Your actions will change. And when you change what you repeatedly think, speak, and do, your life can begin moving in a different direction. That is the real manifestation, not simply wishing for something and waiting, but becoming the person who is ready to receive, create, recognize, and act upon the opportunities connected to that desire. So believe. Believe in the possibility. Believe in the work. Believe in your ability to learn. Believe in your ability to recover. Believe that the present moment is not the final chapter. And most importantly, believe in yourself. Because if you have come this far, you did not do it by accident. You have already crossed obstacles that once looked impossible. You have already survived moments that once felt like the end. And this moment, this difficult moment, this uncertain moment, this moment when you are tempted to give up, may simply be the moment before something changes. So take another step. Speak another word of encouragement. Try one more time. Open your heart again. Trust yourself again. Dream again. Create again. Believe again. You are not behind. You are becoming. There is something within you that the world is waiting to see. Do not bury it beneath fear. Do not silence it with doubt. Do not let temporary circumstances convince you that permanent greatness is impossible. Release what is within you. Give your gifts a voice. Give your dreams movement. Give your faith room to grow. And then keep walking. Because the life you have been dreaming about may not be behind you. It may be waiting on the other side of the person you are becoming. And perhaps the greatest discovery of your life will be realizing that the power you were searching for was never completely outside of you. It was within you all along. Now, speak it, believe it, become it,